listening to other people's story as well, what challenges they face. For instance, when you are with the cake artist to wash their tins to see how they do it, ask them the question, say, what are your biggest challenges? How do I sell your cakes? No, what is the biggest cake you ever done? Get the knowledge.
It's really nice, and the course material is very specific, very professional. I love the way it's presented.
Your work and then the company,
of course.
It's like it is sometimes very difficult, but it just needs a push.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that the tutors will give you if and when needed.
But we are learning special techniques, special tips that they will definitely help.
I'm here at the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference in Dubai, and I was very excited to see that I was on the same speaker panel as one of our advisory board members who's located in Perth in Australia, and that is Katherine D'Entremont. Now, Katherine's been on our board now for a couple of years, but we've never actually physically met each other, so I was really excited to actually sit down with Katherine and talk to her about her journey as a wedding planner and how she's got started. Katherine, thank you for sitting with me.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's really, really lovely to see you for the first time in the flesh.
Yeah, we actually finally get to meet.
Yes.
Now, obviously, you're on our advisory board.
Yep.
You're from Germany originally.
Yes.
And what I thought would be really nice for some of our students who aspire to do what you're doing is to hear your journey of how you got started as a planner.
It's actually quite a long journey.
That's okay. I have time.
Basically, when we had family dinners or family luncheons, I always planned the menu, set the table nice, and that's where I loved it, and I'm very creative. I've probably done all the crafty things in my life, and I was actually a trained dental hygienist by trade.
Okay, that's a little different.
Completely different, but I never enjoyed my journey there. And
passion?
No, always did. Even when I actually had a gym once. And what did I do? I did events in the gym. So the moment the gym closed, I did big fashion shows for gym gear and things like that. And then, of course, I had my children. I have 3 beautiful children, and they do leave the nest eventually.
I know.
I still got 2 at home, but
I'm going
still,
through that at the moment. So.
And so a friend of mine said, I always wanted to do a career of some kind, and a friend of mine said, there's only one thing for you, to become a wedding planner. And I said to her, what on earth is a wedding planner?
Oh, okay.
So I had to study first what they actually do, and everything they do is actually what I've already been doing all my life. So obviously you can't just start a business overnight. So I did for a whole year. I did a lot of research.
Yeah.
And every business needs to have a good foundation. If you don't build that, your house will fall over. So there's a part of the which I don't like. You need a good accounting system. You need to do your own advertising because advertising companies on the very beginning when you start cost a lot of money.
Don't they?
Yes, and you need the right equipment. So you need the right programs. So it's costing quite a bit of money to start up.
Yeah.
And yes, you need to learn about these programs. Photoshop, for instance, took me a long time to learn.
I still don't know it.
Yes, I love it now, but still, it helps you with your design because I'm also a stylist.
Yeah, so you do both. You do the planning and the design yourself.
Yes, because I really enjoy that. I enjoy with all the elements, the fabrics, the flowers. No, every
so not
bit.
just the logistics and the production.
No.
You really enjoy the creative design side of it as well. So how long has your company been going for now?
Almost 14 years.
Okay, so that's a long time. And 14 years ago, there weren't training courses around for this type of thing. So you absolutely had to do what you did, which was all that research, finding out about suppliers and, as you say, the different systems and what have you. So
I sat with the cake artist, and I offered them to wash the tins, so I can watch them how they did the cakes.
That's fantastic, because we tell our students to do similar things. Go and get the experience.
Yeah.
Go and spend time with caterers. Go spend time in venues and work in the back of house, because
Exactly.
you'll see so much that way.
Because you have to
Volunteer.
convince the bride why she should use this cake artist, because they use the real chocolate and they're very proud of what they do and what's going on behind the scene. People say, why do I pay so much money for a bouquet? But if you've been with the florist to see what goes in a bouquet, you can explain to your client
Exactly
that
what
is
they're getting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So they always say, the moment you say the word weddings, everything becomes more expensive. I don't think so.
No, that actually isn't the case at all.
No.
It's exactly as you described. It's the work and the authenticity that goes into what people are doing.
Yes.
I think so anyway.
Yes.
Now, tell me about your team. How long has it taken you to put a team together around you that you work with really well, your vendor team, or as I always called it, my dream team?
I have a little black book.
Okay,
So,
tell me more.
yes, and well, it takes a long time because I like to work with people who are like-minded,
Yes.
like me.
Yep.
And they have the same moral issues, and they're punctual, they
Yep.
are fastidious about what they want to do, and I don't want to hear, that will do.
Yeah.
So, for
So
instance-
same values as you.
Exactly, like the florists to come and dump all their floral arrangements onto the table and then leave. But then there are florists to stay right to the last moment and tweak every petal. Oh, there's a brown petal on that one rose, they take it off.
Yeah.
The fingerprints on the vases get wiped off because someone will definitely see it.
It's
and they
attention
are
to
professional
detail.
people. And yes, sometimes I work with with new people together, and sometimes they work out to be coming into my black book, and some of them will never go into the black book.
No, I can understand that.
It takes years to build
Yeah.
that. You really have to get to know your town, which you work in.
Sure.
Who are the best people for you?
And that takes a lot of time, doesn't it?
And then at sometimes when you've worked with, for instance, the DJ for 10 years, they lose their passion,
Yeah.
and then you need to be replaced with someone has,
Yeah.
again, that passion.
That reignited
Yes,
passion that
yes.
you need your couples to actually have a part of as well.
Yes, I mean, some people just grow out of their business as well over the years. So I've just lost a really good decorator. She said, no, it's time for me to move on because I've done
Right.
this for 10 years. I don't want to do the pickups at midnight anymore. I want to have a bit of a life back. And
Yeah.
I understand that. So
Yeah, it happens. It gets to that point, doesn't
Yes.
it? Now, with the clients that you work with, do you insist on them working with your team of vendors, or do you allow them to bring their own vendors to you?
it's in my contract that I really prefer to work with if they bring in other people from outside, then I don't take the responsibility, but I don't try not to let them. If they choose their own photographer, videographer, that's fine with me. But, if they're bringing in their own cake artist and then the cake starts leaning or collapsing on the day, who they're going to look at? That's me. Because they're thinking that I have recommended that particular
And you
cake
haven't.
artist, and I didn't. No. Then I rather have grandma do the cake. So then everyone at the
Oh,
wedding
that's got to be
had
the
done
worst
cake.
thing.
But then no one can say the planner recommended a lousy supplier. But it's important sometimes that grandma can participate as well, or anyone in the family, and it keeps prices also down if you have. And I'm going to talk about that in my speech later on. That I truly believe in bringing family members into the wedding if they're talented enough.
If
So,
they're talented. But I
yes.
guess the question arises, how do you deal with it if they're not talented? How do you break that news to the bride and groom?
No, it's usually the bride and groom who have the final say in it and says, definitely grandma will do the cake.
Okay.
She does awesome fruit cake or whatever.
Well, I had an interesting thing. Whilst I've been here in Dubai, I attended a workshop that was put on, and somebody had said that this exact thing, managing other people's vendors that aren't part of your team, can be an absolute nightmare.
Yes.
And the tip they gave, and this wouldn't work for everyone, but the tip was, I charge 10% management fee for every vendor brought in that isn't part of my team. because the management involved in this, and this particular planner said, you'll be amazed then, as soon as you start talking prices, how many times they relent and say, okay, I'll go with your team.
That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good tip. It stuck with me. It was the one thing that I really took away from that workshop, and I thought, what a great idea. It saves all those arguments, because at the end of the day, when you're managing somebody else's supplier who you have no relationship with, it can be a really tricky road. So I thought that was quite interesting. Good tip that picked up. But I have another question for you. Obviously, we train wedding planners, stylists and designers. And what's really interesting for me is to hear other people's advice that they can give people coming into the industry, rather than just from my own perspective. So what tips and advice have you got for people coming into this industry wanting to start their own business as a planner and stylist?
Best advice, what I already had said on the beginning, build the right foundation.
Yeah.
Don't just come and says, for instance, I hear this a lot. I just had so much fun doing my own wedding. I'm becoming a wedding planner, and just get some business cards printed and start. You can't just start a business, any business.
No.
Your product is what you have in your brain, and you have to have that knowledge of. It's not your wedding anymore. It's not your playing field with someone else. So you have to run the show, and. Do you know how to run a rehearsal? Do you know, it's not being in the rehearsal, you have to run the rehearsal.
Very different, isn't it?
It is very, very different, yes.
For us, I always find that the thing they find hard is not, once they've learnt how to be a wedding planner and know the ins and outs, and we've given them those basics and that foundation, I find the other thing they struggle with is actually running a business. So do you have any business tips that you can give us?
You grow slowly into it, so let yourself have time. So like I said before, get the right programs, start doing lots of networking, listening to other people's story as well, what challenges they face. For instance, when you are with the cake artist to wash their tins, to see how they do it, ask them the question, say, what are your biggest challenges? How do I sell your cakes? What is the biggest cake you ever done? Get the knowledge, because you are the person where the bride, when she has a question, she wants to ask you and get the answer. She doesn't want to Google it. She wants to have those really good, solid answers from you in how to do things. And running the business, yes, there are parts. I hate accounting. Absolutely hate it.
I hear you. I hate it too.
Because my creative side, I'm not a numbers person, but I still had to learn it.
Yes.
And it took me a long time, because I need to know how much money did I do this month? Or did I spend, my very first tax return, my accountant said to me, you're spending too much money on advertising. And I went, oh, did I? Oh, okay. I better have a look what I did.
Yeah.
So, yes, you need to know all the ins and outs of your business, not just going to the cake artist with your client and pick out and eat the cake.
It's not just the pretty stuff, is it?
No, it's not. It's definitely not. And then even on the day, people think it's all glorious, but how many times have I been under the table searching for things or get abused by people you have never met? Or you have bridesmaids saying, excuse me, here's my handbag, take it to the table. And you got to deal with lots of different dynamics, culture differences, and even fights between bride and groom on the day. So
yes, I've heard all sorts of horror stories about things like that. So you really are having to be a psychologist, you're having to be a PA, everything that comes along with being a planner.
And you know what? You got to be the coolest person on the day. You're not allowed to lose your moment.
You can't show any emotion on the day at all. You've got to be in control.
Always smiling, calm.
Yeah.
Yes. Once my timeline and my floor plans are in set, I am actually the calmest person on the day. And if there are any problems, they will be solved.
Yeah, you fix it.
I fix them.
You know how to, and that comes with experience as well.
And it also comes to the team you're assembling. You trust, because you know how far you can push them and how far you can go with them, because you have been working with them for so long, and they trust you. They know that if they don't set that tablecloth over there properly, that I will come up and say, do it again.
I believe that too, Katherine. I really do. But that, you're right, that is absolutely key. Working with your team, you become seamless, you become as one, because you can anticipate what the other one wants and how they're going to do it.
Yes.
And that's why I always used to call it my dream team, and I loved working with them, and I'm sure you're exactly the same. You have those people where, you know, if something goes wrong, they're going to go the extra mile to fix it. They're going to anticipate things, and you can rely on them, which I guess is the main thing.
It is, exactly. It's the team who makes the wedding, isn't it? Without
Absolutely.
us, there wouldn't be a wedding.
No,
Yes.
quite. Well, thank you so much for sharing your tips on both wedding planning and business and your advice. And I honestly couldn't agree more. You have to build the foundations of a business, otherwise it has a domino effect. It all comes toppling down if you don't get that structure in place right from the start. It's not all about the pretty. Unfortunately, there is, as you say, the ugly with the accounting and the marketing and the social media, but it's worthwhile in the end, I think. If you've done it for 14 years, it must be worthwhile.
It takes 4 years to build a business, and I think being a wedding planner takes a little longer yet.
I would agree with that one.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Katherine.
Lovely to see you.
It's been
Thank you.
brilliant to actually finally meet you.
Same, likewise.
Thank you to Katherine. Now, if you want to find out more about Katherine's business, it's Katherine d'Entremont Weddings. She's based in Perth. She is a member of our advisory board, and as you've just heard, has some wonderful advice and 14 years experience to pull on. So if she, Katherine knows what she's talking about. So it's worth listening to what she has to say. And thank you for watching.